there's nothing on there.
Okay, wake up, Mayor. It's time to get started. Welcome, everybody, for the work session for June the 25th, 2019. We're going to start out, Mr. Stuckey has an introduction that he wants to make, and then we'll go directly into citizen comments.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to make a quick introduction to a new team member. We have Angie Johnson up here on the top row up there. She is joining us in a position, it's actually a revised position that we have renamed the Deputy Assistant City Recorder. She'll be working very closely with Linnea, the rest of our administrative team, especially on agenda preparation and that whole process, so you'll get to know her well as you work through various agendas over the time, and we're really pleased to have Angie on board. She previously had worked a number of years in Laramie, Wyoming as a city clerk, so she's done this kind of work, and we're thrilled to have her on board, and was really, really impressed with her through our interview process, and just thrilled to have her on. So welcome, Angie.
Okay, we'll go to citizen comments. I only have one comment card tonight, and so I'm going to ask Ted Baker. Ted, you can come right up here and sit down with us. Just be like us. Sit closer. Sit closer. And you have to push the green button.
And then you're live.
And we'll give you a couple of minutes to talk.
I appreciate
think
it.
most of us.
Wow, this is effective. How is everyone? I'm going to step back. Thank you. Angie, welcome. It's nice to have you. I'm happy to be part of your first day. That's fantastic. Let's make it eventful. So thank you all for hearing me. My name is Ted Baker. I'm new to the area. Moved my family here recently. We bought a house at 1005 Evans Street. Upon purchasing the house, we did not realize that we were going to be inundated with water on a regular basis. My comments here tonight are not about trying to monetize anything. It's not about trying to build more. It's really about health and public safety. I've spent the last 2 months being a resident of Franklin, where I was happy to be 2 blocks away from the police station, happy to have a place for my kids to play, made arrangements with neighbors to play in the side yards, and raise my family the way I thought it should be. Unfortunately, with the ingress of flow of water coming into our property and our neighbor's property, it's made not only the land but the house uninhabitable. We're finding water up into our garage 4 feet deep. We've had to throw away a number of things numerous times now. At this moment, we're living with sandbags in front of our house. Had a number of conversations with city representatives, been told that this is just the way it is, and I should be used to it. And it's been that way, I think Ms. Martin said, since she was a child. And though that is a fact, it does not make it okay for my 4-year-old little girl to be walking into a garage with electrical outlets on the ground, not knowing what's going on, and scared, and potentially risking her own life by electrocution if she walks into the water and finds herself in a situation that's very scary and very bad. It's not okay to have the construction debris, broken glass, rusty nails, feminine hygiene products, everything from golf balls running down into our lot, into our home. I understand that the city has made mistakes in the past, but at some point the city has to take responsibility for the things, and if we're going to have an ingress of water in one way, we need to have an exit strategy. So my commentary today is to make sure that I'm new to the city, and I'm very happy and very humbled to be here and be amongst you. My family and I chose this city in particular when looking at 15 others. We had no idea, and if I would have spoken to Ms. Martin, she said I would have told you to never buy a house there. The problem is that at some point the city approved the house to be built, and for that reason they took responsibility for it at that moment to make sure that it was safe for someone to live there. So I'd like it to be safe. I'd like it to be healthy. I would like not to have feces and things spread across my yard. I don't feel it's my responsibility to clean up the debris of construction up on Adams. I don't feel it's my responsibility to take, if it's not the city's water, it's just Mother Nature's water, I get it. But I'm not taking Mother Nature's water on our property. I'm taking the water of miles and miles around me being filtered down. And it's not just me. I've talked to the other neighbors. There's some people here today that are supporting us. But every single home up this street just is having this problem. And I understand it's a huge huge issue and it can't be solved tomorrow. But what I'm hearing is this is going to happen in 10 to 15 years. And unfortunately, in 10 to 15 years, my 4-year-old's not going to want to play on a playground anymore. She's not going to want to hang out with daddy, and she's not going to want to be, at the house running around in the yard. So I look to my city councilmen and women to help me facilitate some sort of short and long-term solution that will allow, again, health and public safety. That's really what it boils down to. I'm not trying to make any money. I've spent actually already tens of thousands of dollars to try to remedy the situation and put my best foot forward after our first couple meetings with the city and them saying, we can't do anything for you. And I've been told that this is an uncommonly wet season, but I still don't feel like in the 2 months that I've been here, I should have to clean out my garage 5 times because I've got 4 inches of mud in my garage, and I've thrown away pieces of furniture, clothing, toys, electrical items. That seems a bit crazy. So now the great news is that I have sandbags around my house. But that's not that great because they're yellow. My house is white. So it's not a good look for the city either. So my question is to put it on the agenda. I'm not looking for anybody to do me any favors. I'm looking for my city council to provide health and public safety. That's what I'm looking for.
If you could leave us your email address and phone number so we can contact you and follow up.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
Is this a new construction? New construction?
We bought our
older home.
we bought our house. It was constructed in 2010. So we bought our house 3 months ago. It's older construction. I guess that's really the crux of my issue. It's not as if I just built something that was just had due diligence done on it. When you move into a city of the magnitude of Franklin, it's Main Street, USA, you assume that buying a city 2 blocks away from the police station and in the middle of what everyone considers this amazing place is somewhat safe. And what we found is it's not. So anyways, no, I appreciate you guys hearing
Yeah.
me. Thank you. My wife and I are very, very humbled and happy to be here.
And your wife, Jillian.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
We appreciate her being here.
Yes. Thank you, guys. I'm just going to write this down. I'll
Yeah,
leave you.
write it down. You can just give it to Vicky right up here.
As long, it could be on my porch if it's dry.
Okay, we're going to move forward now with a presentation on the rollout of the Blue Bin Franklin Recycling Program.
Of Melissa and Jack come on up, but you all have given us approval in terms of moving forward with the transition effective January of 2020 to the Ben Franklin, Blue Ben Franklin recycling approach, and we're excited about that and have done a lot of work in terms of our communication of this change and trying to get folks on board with this voluntary program. And Melissa's worked closely with the sanitation environmental services team, and we want to share some of those strategies with you and get any feedback you'd like to provide. Take it
All
away.
right. I guess I'll start, and y'all can hear me. And do I just push the right arrow? Yeah. All right, so we've been busy the last few months getting ready for Blue Bin and the registration and rolling out the Blue Bin program. So here's the plan, and we wanted to create a new mascot and logo, and you may have seen pictures of Ben Franklin. He's there on the brochures. And we're getting another costume so that we can promote this in schools, and it's being designed and created right now. They designed the picture that you see there, so it will look very much like the one on the brochure. We've worked with IT for the registration process. It's now online, live, and they did a very good job of making it as easy as they could for residents to just go online and sign up, and also for our employees to sign people up when they call us and they're looking for an account number. We also created a web page, and you may have seen that already. We created the new brochure in your hands. We created bill inserts that people will get in the mail with their utility billing. And we have door hangers, and I just put a few out there you can pass back and forth. Those will not actually go on doors, but they will go on the black rollout containers, the handles, so people will know that know to register and know that the bins are coming soon. We're planning to do a rollout of that maybe in September with the door hangers, and then maybe again after the beginning of the year if we don't have a high number of people who registered, or just to remind people how to get the bins if they see their neighbors have one and they haven't registered yet. We're also creating banner stands for festival signs and signage. We have T-shirts, and I'll show you all these materials in the next few slides. But T-shirts, if people sign up at festivals, they'll get a free T-shirt or a hat with the Blue Bin logo or Got Bin, and it has little Ben Franklin. And we have little kids T-shirts as well. So hopefully they'll help us spread the word. And then we're creating an educational banner for the tops of the bins. So when you actually close your lid, what you can put in the bin is right there on the top of the bin. So that's really good, and they don't have to have a magnet or something they might lose. It's just right there, baked into the plastic.
In color.
In color, full color. I guess they could get new lids. What if it changes, Jack?
What if it changes? What if we do take glass one?
We'll do another educational campaign for that.
Yeah.
New lids on there.
And then we're also creating a small bag that's similar to a shopping bag that has a list of the recyclables that you can put in there. Something you can put in your house that you can carry your recyclables out to wherever your bin may reside. So there's the new mascot and the logo, and we used very much the old logo, but changed the word bag to bin. And then our mascot, one of my associates, Steve Price, came up with the clever name of Ben Franklin. And there's a look at the web page right up on top there. You can see that's where you click to reserve your bin right now. There's also frequently asked questions, so if any of your constituents have questions, you can refer to that web page and help answer. And if you have any questions that aren't on the page, feel free to let me know and we'll add that question to the web page.
It harkens back to the, I'm just a bill.
Yeah, kind of.
You have to be at least 40 to get that.
Alderman Peterson.
I remember. So the brochure is very similar. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, noticing what people have out around me, one of the things people need to learn is how to break down a box, you know, and so having, you know, even maybe at the Franklin on the Fourth or something, somebody showing how to do that, because I didn't know, you know, but that would let them see that they can put it into the bin, because a lot of times they just set the box out with the other stuff in it, you know.
Right.
And
That'd make a good video.
Yeah, we plan.
oh, yes.
We plan
That's
to
a good
do some
idea.
educational
Good
videos
idea.
on how to prepare your recyclables, because we're asking people to rinse them out now, smush them down, put them in the bin. We can add the boxes, the breaking down of the boxes
that would-
too.
I do like
And
that.
we
Thank you.
realize there's going to be a period of time to get people re-educated into the newer way of managing their recyclables, so we'll be educating them as we find them out there that aren't broken down, so.
We saved taxpayer dollars on the brochure and used our old layout and just changed the word to blue bin instead of blue bag, and changed the wording and the mascot. So the cost was a little less for the design, so.
Vice Mayor, you want to ask a question?
Yeah. I had a call, I guess it was today, on a specific item. When we're doing this right here, the bins and the ones who did the blue bag and the bins, those function. But for those, and I use this because Harrison Hills is the example that I'm going to use. Harrison Hills has a dumpster. They have the dumpster. We used to pick it up. We no longer now do that. But so therefore, they cannot now participate in the blue bag because they won't have any way of doing the rollouts or anything. But we were doing some voluntary blue bags. They could put them in a specific location. We would pick them up. We didn't go out throughout all the neighborhood, but if they would do it in one location, we could do that. That goes away. My question, that's two things. My question is, what are they doing? How does a place like Harrison Hills pay for the dumpster? I mean, we bill who?
Hardison Hills, it may be one of those areas that should have been cleaned up if it hasn't. that
Okay.
We were charging each individual resident, even though they have private dumpster.
So you think, well, she said she wasn't
I'd have
getting
to
a,
see the
she said she
records.
wasn't getting a $17 bill, so she wasn't. But she was just wondering, once the city starts picking them up, who will pick them up? So I don't know. And the fact that you had a somewhat modestly, voluntary blue bag special that you did on that, and they could carry them to one particular place. So we've eliminated the dumpster for them. They can go out, they can do like, I guess, any restaurant, anybody else that's gonna drop that program, but, they will not be able to participate in the blue bags recycling program either, simply because it doesn't function that way. So,
Yeah, at a minimum, they'd have to have a designated space at curbside.
okay,
You know, and it's something we can look at and
let's look
discuss
at that.
further.
That's
When you've
not,
got a dumpster service, it's a different
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah.
And that's a unique hybrid there. So we'd have to look at if there's any way to
look at that
accommodate a
and
group
sort of see,
recycling.
because they're not, it's not rental.
Right.
It's not apartments. It's not something that they're all clustered together. I guess, well, they are clustered
Yeah,
together, but they still they're individually owned. So,
But they're served by dumpsters, so that's
Right,
where this gets a
That's
little
where
different
this
model.
gets-
Yeah.
a little muddy. But look at that and see what,
That sticker you have, would that be better put on the inside of the lid? Because that's gonna fade away and then it's all gonna be gone.
It's
the
all
sun and the
it's all
rain.
laminated over it with plastic.
Oh, it is? So it's
Yeah,
all
it should be.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
waterproof.
It's molded into
It's
the,
Oh, it's
baked
molded
in.
in.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
sorry, I
baked
didn't hear
into
that.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's good. And then, would you please explain why, because I've gotten 2 calls on this, why they were trying to fill it all out, and they said then it came to their account number, and they stopped, and they said, okay, now we got all back out of it and didn't do it because they didn't have their account number, and they weren't home, and they had to go home and look it up, and they said, why are we needing to put the account number in there? Do you want to explain that? Because I'm sure somebody.
I'll let
explain,
Eric
yeah.
explain.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, I
we've
know
looked at
why.
that.
We tried to
And we're trying to make
figure
sure
that.
people know, if employees do it for them, we can use a lookup process and cover that. If we don't, there's the potential for confusion, and it's actually fairly labor intensive to go back in and track that down. So we're just trying to tell people up front, have your bill handy, put your account number on it, and we're good to go. When we're at festivals and signing people up, staff people will be able to get the number for them.
that's good.
So that'll streamline it on those public
Yeah.
events.
Okay.
But if you're at home doing it, just grab your latest bill and put that number in for us. That helps us eliminate a pretty significant chunk of staff time and a potential for error. And so this will help us
Yeah.
if folks can do that
I-
one
Yeah,
piece
we've,
for us.
we've registered quite a few from the office.
Oh, have you? Okay.
IT did a great job in helping us devise a process that's pretty quick, so it don't consume a lot of our
So
time
if somebody calls
to get
in and
them
they don't have their
registered.
account
Yeah.
number, they can get it?
So
Okay.
it's last resort, they
All
can
right.
call, we can get them in and register.
Yeah, we've
pretty
also
quick.
provided that number. If they want to call us during the
Okay,
day,
they
we'll
can
just
call.
do it with them.
Yeah, because most people, I can look it up, but they'd asked me that, and I figured, the reason I said, listen, it's too labor intensive to register the entire city or everybody that would want to do that, that's. you know,
Right.
It's
they're
more
asking-
difficult than you'd think, and yeah.
We tried to do that.
let's keep on.
And IT was very accommodating. There is the bill insert that people will get with their utility bills. That is the door hanger that you have in front of you. The bill insert will be very similar. We're also doing truck decals, similar to the anti-litter campaign that we did. So, and it will also have a magnet that has the coming soon to make the decal evergreen, so to speak, that it will be still in fashion after it has started. And that's the T-shirts, Got Bin, and the back of the T-shirts has the mascot. That was Eric Stuckey's idea. And the blue bin caps, I think, will be pretty popular. They're pretty. And that's what the bin topper looks like. You can see the baked in, and you can see that on your PowerPoint. And then that's a close-up of what. And we tried to keep it real simple because people like bullet points. They just like a quick read, what's not recyclable, what is, and on the bags, there'll be even more explainer information. Those are being designed right now. And then the next step is to launch Ben Franklin and sign-ups at Pumpkin Fest. The mayor's going to give him a key to the city on a kite because his name is Ben Franklin. And then we'll have a booth at Family Day, a booth at the Candy Cane Hunt, a booth at the tree lighting, possible second round of door hangers in 2020, and we may do a possible kite day with Ben Franklin in March of 2020.
The other thing we're doing between now and the end of August is folks that sign up will be eligible for some drawings. So we'll have the ability for folks,
On the link.
I think 100 people who have
Click
signed
on
up
the link.
early will get the bin at no cost. So we'll do that, and then we've also got 2 pilgrimage tickets that will be given away. So there are some incentives for people to sign up between now and August to get in early.
And this is your number. In a week and a
So far.
half, 1,845 people have signed up.
So we're off to a good start.
Steadily.
Get the word
I
out.
know once we put the hangers on the carts, it's gonna blossom.
That's a great first week and a
Oh, yeah.
half, so we're
So
proud
this
of
has
the
just
start.
been social media, Nextdoor. A few of the papers have done some articles. And so.
All right, we're ready to move on. Thanks. Good report. We're going to have a presentation from Franklin Housing Authority on redevelopment and new construction projects. Y'all just line up and. Line up. Derwin's been here. He can direct you. Y'all want to come in?
Okay. Well, thanks again for allowing us to sit before you. And as always, I always want to continue to thank this board and thank the city and the mayor for all the support you have given the Housing Authority and affordable housing efforts that we have done. So we want to tonight just to come and bring to you, to present to you the things that we've done already and some of the things we're planning to do to continue to reshape and revamp public housing here in Franklin. With me, I have Steve Schock. He's with Kitchen Associates. He has been with us since I've been here to develop this master plan and continue to work with us. And I also have Doug Johns, who is our Director of Maintenance and Development, who's also a licensed architect. So I want to let Steve take you through the presentation, and then we want to leave any time for you for any questions that you may have with this.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure working with the Housing Authority for going on 10 years now. It seems like a long time. But I do remember that very first meeting that when Mr. Jackson and the Housing Authority Board came to us and said, we want you to take a fresh look at all of the public housing here in Franklin, because we don't want to just be a maintaining housing authority. We want to be a transforming housing authority. They really wanted to take a fresh look at all of the property and ultimately come up with a strategy to sequentially improve and increase the supply of affordable housing in the city of Franklin. So we did, at that time, a master housing strategy, a master housing plan. Just taking you through and we've just recently updated it to include some of the things that have happened in those last 10 years. So you can see most of the Housing Authority property is kind of to the southwest of the city center. What you're seeing on the screen there is in blue, those are properties that have already been redeveloped within that 10 years. Some have been renovated, and we'll show you that. Others have been demolished and replaced with brand new housing. Those that are in yellow on that screen are kind of the things that we're focusing on now. They're the current efforts. And those that are in purple up there, that is the tail end of the overall master housing plan. So just quickly as a reminder, anybody remember what the Reddick Street property used to look like? One of the things that as an architect, one of the things that, and I work with a lot of housing authorities, what I can't stand is driving through a town and being able to point and say, that's where the public housing is. So one of the goals is to make sure that when a project has been redone, that people can't tell. You shouldn't be able to tell the economic standing of people just by driving through the town. So this is very common. And at the time, the Franklin Housing Authority was what HUD considered a high-performing housing authority, and that's to be loyal. It actually made it kind of hard on us to make the case for tearing those down. But ultimately, we did tear them down. That's kind of actually on the big screen it's fuzzy. That's an aerial photograph of the now rebuilt out. This was done in 2 phases. The first phase of Reddick Street was only by removing 4 dwelling units, we were able to put in a 48-unit senior building. The Housing Authority didn't have any dedicated senior housing at the time, yet the demographics of public housing residents, many were getting older, and many would do better in a senior-only facility. So number one, it was create some capacity on underutilized land, in this case 48 units, and that was the senior residence right across from the library. The next piece of that, once that was done, was to redevelop family housing on that same site, and again, trying to get to the highest and best use of very valuable land here in Franklin. There's not just extra land around. So one of the things that we were looking to do is trying to create more, make the most of what we've got. So at Reddick Street, 2 different phases, funded in 2 different cycles, using, and on the presentation you can see there are low-income housing tax credits, there are local CDBG funds, there's federal home loan funds. Mr. Jackson can go into some of the funding mechanisms. But this is all done in a context of the last 10 years where public housing authorities get less and less resources to work with. They can most of them can barely maintain the properties that they have. And here we have in Franklin multiple efforts to, in this case, tear down and replace. At Park Street, I don't know how many of you are very familiar with Park Street. It's a little pocket. You kind of have to go looking for it. But there are a few units there, 22 units, and what the Housing Authority did using trust fund grants and CDBG funds, an FHA contribution, came in and completely did a gut rehab of those 22 units. So it's not just one tool. It's renovation, it's new construction, wherever that makes sense. So that entire enclave now has been completely rehabbed. Now we're getting into some of the ones that were in yellow and the things that are going on now. Johnson Circle and Spring Street are 2 adjacent separate public housing sites, and that's where the Housing Authority created their new offices. Their administration building in 2010 was an anchor in that area. Let me go back. And what's intended there is similar to what happened at Park Street, maintaining the existing buildings, but investing in those buildings, maybe on some underutilized land, doing a little bit of infill if the funds are available, but ultimately investing and really renovating those buildings to bring them up to current standards. This is the site out at Cherokee and Chickasaw Place near Warren Park. There's something going on already. As you can, in the plan in the upper left-hand corner, there's a new senior building. That's very reminiscent of what you saw happen at the Reddick Street site. The first thing to do is look at underutilized land and build excess capacity. So without tearing anything down, we're able to build a new, again, 48 units of senior housing. And then you can see the plan for what's coming next, up to 100 units of additional family housing to replace the units that are there. Again, increasing the capacity and supply without additional land acquisition. It's interesting, along Shawnee Drive, on the other side, one of the things, again, presuming the funding is there for them, is to mix in some home ownership, affordable home ownership, as opposed to just rental along the other side of Shawnee Drive. Then there are those that are still a bit further out, but I have it in good authority from the gentleman to my right here that they have all the energy in the world to continue the plan. Ultimately, Short Court, which is the one that's closest to downtown. The idea there is to actually continue some housing, but also that's the opportunity for maybe some mixed use, maybe some living over retail and things like that, because that's closest to downtown. It's a site that could actually support something like that. And then finally, the Brookwood Avenue site. Again, the long-term master plan is, you'll see again, there's a senior building in the lower part of the plan. And then, again, increase your capacity so that people have someplace to move to, take down what's obsolete, and truly reinvent the image of public housing here in Franklin. Back to you.
Thank you. Do anybody have any questions from us?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Branford,
I did
please.
hear, I think I heard you correctly, you're looking at some potential for sale, because most of your units now are income-based rentals,
Yes.
correct?
That's correct.
So in the future, or wherever, the near future, you're looking to create purchase,
Yes,
income-based purchase.
yes.
We just had a ribbon cutting just the other week at the Hard Parking area, the association, and they were able to put 5 new families into homes. They are property owners now, not renters. And from where I sit, that's a good thing, and we need to see more of that. And if you can add to that, those numbers, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Okay. And that's our plan. That's our plan.
Well, I congratulate you on a great presentation and a great plan. You know, we talk about housing all the time, and I'm pretty quick to brag about the work that Franklin Housing Authority is doing, and I think you were a high-performing housing authority, but I think you're higher performing even more, and we congratulate you on the great work. Alderman Peterson?
I was just going to say, the projects that you have done already, you know, really let people see what you're doing and what you can do.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Great report. Thank you so much. Next is a construction agreement with AT&T regarding relocation of aerial and fiber lines that are currently mounted to Middle Tennessee Electric poles on the site of the new City of Franklin Fire Station 7.
Really, both items 3 and 4 deal with some utility support for that site and relocation issues. Item 3 is very straightforward, working with AT&T on some aerial lines and how that can best work with that site, and we need some agreement there with a specific construction agreement and authority there. So we're asking on that specifically and would like you to vote on that tonight. If I could, I'll jump into item 4.
Please do.
Item 4, you'll note you don't have an agreement with you. What I would ask you to do tonight is to grant authority to myself, working with the city attorney, to work with Mill Crofton on water service agreements. We are in this interesting crossroads where that is in the Mill Crofton service area, but it is right adjacent to our service area. We've already had an agreement with the board at Mill Crofton to allow us to provide the service for fire sprinklers because we can deliver the pressure that's needed. As we look at it more, we see some opportunities that may relate to the efficiency of delivering this project. I'm not sure where that's going to land in terms of their service being in their district, but also what we can do as a water provider ourselves in serving our own public facility, also a shared facility with the county. So it's got some complexity in that it's kind of our own facility, but it's also in their district. And so if I could get some general authority to work with them on a service agreement, and it may be some blend of what we serve and what they serve. I don't fully know. Have a meeting with their executive director later this week, but I'd like to get at least some general grant of authority tonight to help me work with it. I think you see in the memo kind of a worst case scenario that's anywhere from $60,000 to $70,000 of cost, all of which are already built into the project budget, but that specific agreement could go to that level. There may be some ways to do that a little more efficiently, but if I could get a general grant of authority tonight, that would help us do some work and some discussion with our friends over at Mill Crofton. So,
Got 3 hands. We'll start here with Vice Mayor, go to Ms. Martin, and then Alderman Peterson.
One of the things, and I'll make my comment well brief, one of the things that we were able to see at TML this weekend was a unit that fit on top of the streetlights, and it made wireless, you know. So I was just thinking about when we were doing the item 3, if we would look at that opportunity. I'm not saying we don't do item 3, but there's also probably technology out there now that you don't even have to run the wires for this.
Yeah, this relates to some existing infrastructure. Some of that is evolving. Some of that is what we've worked with the small cell initiatives and how those can be placed on existing infrastructure where possible. So that is continuing to be something we're seeing in terms of technology, but that may help us in the long run down the line. But right now we're working with existing infrastructure and how that needs to be relocated to give us the best building envelope that we can.
That's not to sabotage.
Right.
No, but I did want to let you know on 3, that's the T1 line. That's for our communication to that facility. So it'll be a permanent going into the building as well.
Alderman Martin?
I would certainly be in favor of letting you and staff decide what to do about that. Would be to give you that authority to do that.
And we'll bring back whatever gets generated from it, but it's something we're working through, and if I could get some general authority, it would help us, I believe.
I would
Alderman
be in
Peterson.
favor of that.
What water district serves the Ag Center?
Well, right now, the city does.
That's what I thought.
But that's part of, we're right on the end
Oh,
of
I
their
see.
district and our district, and the lines over time have been a little bit blurred, and we're working through that on some global issues in terms of where we've served and where they've served and trying to resolve that. And this is an area where it's just right on the border, and we're trying to work through that, and having this authority helps us maybe
Yes.
negotiate some specifics.
Alderman Bransford?
You have my authority as well to move forward with that.
Thank you.
Anybody not wanting to? Great. Okay, we'll move on to items 5 and 6 and take them together, having to do with municipal solid waste disposal and elimination of commercial dumpsters, and ordinance to amend the appendix on comprehensive fees and penalties.
These basically take the direction you all provided earlier in the spring in terms of us moving out of the commercial dumpster business, which was really a money loser for us, would require us to make a significant rate increase. And these are just the specific ordinance adjustments within the municipal code that we need to make to fully enact that direction.
Everybody good? Alderman Peterson?
Just had a question about some small businesses that have relied on, I guess, a city dumpster probably. How many of them, or I mean, if you could give me a ballpark idea, so that, but, and what would they have to do after they lose the city?
So we serve about 200 dumpster customers. Really when we're transitioning out, which will happen in early August, is the final service day for us. They'll have to find a private hauler to do their work, which private haulers predominantly, they're the ones who do most of the business in Franklin anyway, but
200's a pretty small number in the grand scheme of things. We are offering to sell the dumpsters at a very discounted price to them. That may help them with their startup, that they can buy their dumpster that they're using today from us at a pretty low cost. And then they'll need to negotiate a monthly fee type of arrangement with a commercial hauler. There are multiple haulers out there, and they're doing, part of why we're in a situation where our costs don't make sense is because we have so few customers, and the commercial haulers have the lion's share of this business. And so that's kind of part of the reason we're at where we are at with this cost study.
we're going to continue to do the rollout containers for non-residential customers, so that's going to continue.
Yeah, for
So
those
the-
smaller, like the downtown businesses that use rollouts and may have multiple days a week of collection,
Right,
that will remain, because that's very similar to our residential
do it.
service.
Consistent with the automated
Yeah.
collection.
And they
that
were,
we
and
do.
you were saying, I've forgotten, 6 containers or something like that?
Yeah, there's going to be a maximum, well, there currently is a maximum of 6
Okay.
containers, so if they go beyond that, they would have to seek dumpster service from a private vendor. There is a provision in there that would allow the director, depending on extenuating circumstances, to add additional rollouts, but I think that's a case-by-case basis, and that would be vetted through me and administration prior to.
And they would have, what are you saying, multiple times per week instead of just the once a
Correct.
week?
Right, they go up to 5 times a week right
Okay.
now,
Thank you.
already, so.
Ready to move on? Item 7. Thanks, guys. Resolution 2019-57 to authorize the Parks Department to submit an application to the Tennessee Urban Forestry Council for the planting of trees at a city water plant. Is everybody for trees?
Plant them, plant them, plant more of them. And then when you're done planting, plant again. Okay.
With enthusiasm. Item 8 is Resolution 2019-62, a resolution to rescind Resolution 2019-55, awarding the third-party administrator contract for the city's workman's compensation program to PMA companies in the amount of $73,978. I think I'll stop there.
Okay. Yeah, you may remember we actually did an award on this service. We are still in the process of getting the authority back from approval back from the state to move into a self-insured workers' compensation program. We have no concern that we will get it, but we just don't have it yet. So we are in a kind of a holding pattern on that. As we looked at that, we looked at this process, and we were not comfortable with this process and review, and think that we would be better served to go back out to bid for this service. And so we would like you to go ahead and act tonight to reject bids, rescind this bid, and allow us to go back out to bid in the near term, and we'll align it with our transition to a self-insured workers' comp model. We are able to continue to work with travelers until we get to that point. And so we're comfortable that we'll be able to make that transition in the first part of next fiscal year. But we would feel better about our process if we went back out on a different structure for procuring these services.
Okay, item 9, Resolution 2019-60, resolution to award the online training and tracking software contract 2019-0213 for the city's training program to Knowledgeable City in the amount of $8,811.95.
Yeah.
Everybody good? Okay, now item 10, Resolution 2019-63, authorizing condemnation for 801 Crescent Center Drive.
Let us walk you through the background on this one. This is a little unique, and I'll give a general description, and Shauna can get into specifics. Typically, when we work with developments and redevelopments, we identify infrastructure needs, specifically roadway needs, with them. This is the Crescent Center development just south of Cool Springs Boulevard and Carruthers area, kind of in front of the area in front of where Embassy Suites is, et cetera. And it looks like it could be a very interesting development/redevelopment in that area. But we identified some needs for Carruthers, potential future expansion of Carruthers. That's our typical way. What we normally do in working with our folks on the development side is identify what's needed, work with them for them to acquire an appraisal, and then we'll pay that amount to acquire the land. That's still our intent. Somehow this has gotten a little confused with them, and they've filed an action against us, believing, I think mistakenly, that we wanted to just have the land given to us. That is not our intent. We have been advised that it would make sense to get authority from you for condemnation. We don't want to do that. That's our last resort in all of these cases, but it may help us in this, working through this. To do that, Vernon Girth and myself have reached out and are trying to set up a meeting to meet with some of their principals to make sure they're understanding this. We think it may have gotten somewhat confused in the translation here, but it would be helpful, and I believe in their attorney has advised that it might be helpful for us to have a condemnation authority as we have this discussion. So Shauna may be able to answer or fill in anything or clarify anything I tried to describe here.
Well, we've been talking with them. I have been talking with their lawyer since August. So this isn't a new, since August of last year. And our first meeting was in September of last year. So I just want to say that this isn't a new thing for us. And we were very clear all along that we were not asking them to dedicate any land, that we were expecting them, and they had agreed in the meetings to get an appraisal on the property so that we could have a starting point in which to talk numbers. it made more sense at the time for them to get their own appraisal, one, because they might not trust ours, and two, it's easier and faster for developers to get an appraisal than for us sometimes. So we do have leeway when we're negotiating for right-of-way. As far as cost, of course, I would always come back to you before we finalized anything, but we thought, at least probably Paul and I thought, that we were waiting on that appraisal. And then, of course, last week we got a writ of mandamus. And the reason we got that was because they submitted a plan to planning, and it was denied because they hadn't moved the building out of the right-of-way. And they say that that was an attempt for us to demand that we be given the property, and that's not the case. So at this point, we just need to authorize condemnation, file notice of condemnation, and then get an order of possession. And then we can really talk numbers, and we will be able to get our own appraisal at that point.
Everybody got their questions answered? Okay, we'll move to item 11, a competitive seal proposal process to purchase goods and services.
So one of the things that there have been some changes in the last several years related to procurement law, and we have covered some of those processes in procurement guidelines that the board has reviewed and approved. But as we look at that and review the law a little further, it really needs to take the form of a more specific ordinance. This would allow us to do a more tailored proposal process, a sealed proposal process, where we might be able to review the qualifications with a pricing and maybe stage a process. But we need to define that up front, and the state law gives us some guidance on how to best do that. And I think what we're trying to do tonight is just give you a heads up that that's coming. We're reviewing. We'd like to do it as soon as we can, because it is it could be a better fit for some of our procurements, and really think that will help us. We're pulling some things from some other communities. I think Chattanooga's got a good example, and so we're really giving you a heads up that we're working on this, and we may bring back to you something that's based on one of these other really good examples as early as the next meeting in July. So.
I guess I would mention we certainly have a purchasing policy. Our Budget and Finance Committee pretty much every year has seen updates to the purchasing policy. That has always been updated by resolution, and we now have legal guidance that part of this needs to be put into an ordinance format.
Yeah, that's right. And this competitive sealed proposal process, like Eric says, will allow us to blend a bid component with a qualification component. So you will be able to ask questions about their qualifications and be able to make decisions based on both of those things, rather than just a bid or just qualifications. And the benefit about that is, sometimes there are projects that the city does, and it doesn't make sense that we have to pick the lowest bidder. Sometimes qualifications matter a lot, but they're not a licensed professional and can't fall within the qualification. So the law does allow us to adopt this process. We have to do it by ordinance. There are a couple of things that you'll have to consider. One, if we do this, every time we want to use this process, we would have to ask your permission before we do it. That's what the law says, so it would add a little bit of a step into the process, but I think that's okay. I don't think that would take too much time. But two, any sort of appeal that someone would want to take, if a vendor had a complaint or something like that, those appeals come directly to you as an item, and you would have to make those decisions at a board meeting. And that would be a difference. Since I've been here, I can't think of a vendor complaint that we've had, but that doesn't mean we won't have one, as soon as we do this. But it would be, all the appeals would come directly to you.
Alderman Berger?
Okay, so if you come to us to ask permission, which is fine. You said you didn't think it would take too long, so you just come in and ask. We have to vote on it?
You would. We would have to say,
One
every
vote?
time we'd have to say, this doesn't meet the level of an RFQ, but we think you would want to consider qualifications in this situation because these are the reasons that's best for the city. And we would have to set forth that request every time we do it.
And then it would just take one vote, right?
One vote,
Okay.
one vote, and then they would go through the
So it's not,
process.
yeah, it's not a long time. You could just.
It's not.
over and
It would
done with.
just, we would just have to be a little bit more prepared in getting that to you on the front end.
Yeah, I would think so. All right, thanks.
Okay, now we have a series of liquor license renewals. We have Case Select Wines and Liquors on Columbia Avenue. We have Harpeth Liquors on Murfreesboro Road. We have Del Rio Wine and Spirits on Del Rio Pike. And we have liquor license renewal for the Bottle Shop at McEwen. And lastly, a certificate of compliance for wine and grocery stores for Franklin Bakehouse located 100 East Main Street. Any questions about any of those? Alderman Berger?
I would just ask, since we're taking them all together, are there any here that we've had any issues with or non-compliance? I was just curious.
No issues, and they've all passed the background checks that are
Okay,
required.
that's all I need to know.
Everything's clean. Item 16 is a new establishment at the Harpeth Square. So it would be a sort of a convenience store type of setup within the hotel complex, and yeah, so it's a wine and grocery store approach.
Okay, we're gonna finish up work session a little early, it looks like, and we'll alert you that we will have an executive session. Oh, canceled. I didn't get that word. I have that word now. So, unalert. See you at 7.